In the aftermath of the election, you have this postmortem in which you have Democrats, pundits as well as politicians speaking out and saying, well, part of why the Harris campaign lost is because they were too supportive of trans people. But what did they do? Nothing. And so the obvious takeaway from that is, well, they should have just joined in the attacks. They should have said, yes, it is. Of course, we should exclude trans girls from sports. Of course, we should deny people in government custody of medical treatment. These are constitutional norms that they are sensationalizing and playing into people's misunderstanding about trans people and our bodies. And they played on that misinformation and they played on that fear in a campaign that was both about trans people and also about gender more broadly. And what trans people represented in that was the instability of gender roles that were causing so much anxiety. I mean, that's why you saw Vice President-elect Vance talking about the role of postmenopausal women is to care for children. Childless cat ladies, should, or whatever else he said about that, to demonize people who aren't playing the proper gender roles. It wasn't just about trans people. Trans people were a very specific focus, but this was a broader commentary on an approach to gender that is regressive and dangerous for everyone.
MAGA's head is about to explode, and I'm happy about it. You're going to hear more about Chase Strangio, who is a leader for the ACLU legal team. He is a transgender person. He is going to be, this week, the first transgender lawyer to ever appear before the United States Supreme Court in a case, mind you, about transgender rights to attack Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming medical care for adolescents who have joined with their parents in order to obtain medical care to align who they believe they are sexually with their body, including puberty blockers. 23 states ban it. Now, I can't think of a better person to advocate on behalf of these minors and their parents than Chase Strangio. If you didn't know about him before and the historic turn that's about to happen this week, you're going to know about him here. You're on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. I sit at the intersection of law and politics. I'm Michael Popok, and I'm bringing you this report right now. Let me tell you first about Chase Strangio, and then we'll talk about the Skermeti case, which is going to be heard in oral argument on Wednesday before the United States Supreme Court. Strangio has been a leader in developing the legal strategy of the ACLU, and fighting off all the states, and there's 23 of them that have had anti-transgender laws on their books, including fighting this particular law in Tennessee. He joined the ACLU in 2013. In 2015, he was involved and served as counsel in the landmark case affirming the right of same-sex couples to marry, which was supported by the United States Supreme Court. Oh, how far we have come and how far we've reversed since 2015. That case is known as Obergefell versus Hodges. They also have successfully attacked the trans military ban in Stone versus Trump. He was also involved as a leader in a case in 2020 under the Trump administration, which affirmed the rights of LGBTQ workers under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act in a case we call Bostock. And so this case coming up, which is LW versus Skermeti, which is going to set the standard now. The question is, since 2015 to 2020, now to 2024, with the MAGA right wing up there, knowing that the election has happened and knowing that the Solicitor General who's arguing on behalf of the government is now the Biden Solicitor General, and in January, and sometime in January or February, a new Solicitor General for Donald Trump's going to be coming in, under a former criminal defense lawyer of Donald Trump named John Sauer. You know that as soon as Donald Trump comes in, before this decision comes out, before even the decision comes out, Donald Trump is going to reverse course through his new Solicitor General. They're going to submit a paper while the case is under submission to the Supreme Court and not ruled upon, reversing the position and saying there are no constitutional rights to protect transgender people, and certainly not transgender youth who are looking for gender-affirming medical care. That's what's going to happen. That doesn't change what Chase Strangio is going to have to do on his feet. And there's nobody in that room. And I've been inside that United States Supreme Court courtroom. You know, that red velvet, drapes and the oak paneling and chairs. No one in that room has walked in the shoes of Chase Strangio. He's transgender himself. He has a 12-year-old son. And he's able to do what nobody else can do from a position of authority as he tries to get himself the 5 votes he needs, knowing that the Trump administration is going to try to cut out his legs from under him when they take office and the new Solicitor General submits a reversal paper in the next 2 or 3 months. Now, let's break down for a minute what needs to happen here with the Skrmetti case. The problem we have is that we have the Dobbs decision from 2 years ago. In the Dobbs decision, this same lineup of the United States Supreme Court ripped away a constitutional right for a woman to choose. Ripped it away. Reproductive rights don't exist in the Constitution under the privacy rights or otherwise, destroying 50 years of precedent and overturning Roe versus Wade. In the brief submitted by Tennessee, there's no less than 10 references to Dobbs. They are basing their argument on the Dobbs decision. They're saying there's no right to a woman to have reproductive choice. There's no right to a person under the same privacy analysis to have transgender, gender affirming medical care at all. And that's their major argument. Now, how the prior courts, including in 2020, protected transgender people, as a civil right, as a constitutional right, that is where we're in a rock and a hard place. We know that MAGA hates transgender people. There's no other way to put this. They hate transgender people. It scares them. It makes them uncomfortable. I mean, there was a fair number of people that voted for Donald Trump because they attacked transgender people, punching down on the weak and vulnerable in our country. That is the exact group of people that are supposed to be protected by the United States Supreme Court and our Constitution. That's what our founding fathers said. It's not majority will. Let's all get together and raise a hand and let's stone them to death. That's not supposed to be our American society. But when you got the MAGA suffused with the Christian radicals and the Christian right that exist on the United States Supreme Court, and they're being morally repulsed by people who identify as transgender, it makes for a dangerous stew and a perfect storm to take away transgender rights. And you will take it away if they don't find it in the U.S. Constitution. States will continue to discriminate against people who identify as transgender from when they're children, from when they're adolescents, teenagers, all the way through adults. 23 states already are. See, that is MAGA federalism at its core. They are against civil rights. They are against people that are different or strange or make them uncomfortable. And so they turn it over to the states knowing full well, just like in the Civil War, half the states would reimpose slavery if they could. And so to put it up to a state vote, that was what I was taught in law school, was that you didn't do that. That was the role and the purpose of the United States Supreme Court and the Constitution, to protect and defend those in our society that are almost disenfranchised, that are maligned, that are discriminated against because of fear. Whether you're Black or you're Jewish or you're Arab or you're fill in the blank, you're different, you're the other. That is where the Constitution and the United States Supreme Court is supposed to step up and step forward, not step back and say, oh, leave it to the states, state vote. You want to stone these people? Why don't we just start stoning Blacks and Jews and Hispanics and undocumented and transgender? Why don't we do it in public on television and sell tickets and advertising, and people can cash in and do merchandising? Why don't we return a public guillotine? Let's have a guillotine in the public square. Let's televise it. We can put all the enemies of the people for Donald Trump and line them up for the guillotine and see how many people would cheer. When I watch movies that depict like the French Revolution, other times in our history, even in the American history, where people took out dogs and hanged fellow Americans in trees, the strange fruit hanging from trees in the South. I didn't think, well, that couldn't happen here. That couldn't happen here. That couldn't happen anymore. We've evolved. I don't think that. I don't think that at all. I think, yeah, we're close to that. The people that existed then, their descendants exist now. That's the truth. There is a strain. We don't like talking about it, but there is a strain in our U.S. DNA. Okay? It's the same group of people. They still exist. that could put Japanese Americans in internment and concentration camps, that could hang fellow Americans from trees or burn crosses on their lawns, that could discriminate and put up signs, no Jews allowed. People think that group disappeared? Did they? Or did they become MAGA? Okay? So I want to see United States Supreme Court stand up for those that need our protection. Lend a hand to those that need protection. Not find nothing in the United States Supreme Court or its Constitution to protect them. And somebody like Chase Strangio is in a perfect position to look the 9 in the eye, particularly the 6 in the eye, and tell them what this means. He's going to talk from personal experience in a way that he can uniquely as an advocate. And as I've said before, he's got to aim for, in this case too, he's got to aim for Gorsuch, even though Gorsuch has gone completely goo-goo MAGA, right wing. He's right alongside Alito and Thomas. He's actually gone to the right of them on certain circumstances. But for some reason, he's got a soft spot for gay rights, and he sided with the majority a couple of times on gay rights issues, and transgender sort of falls into that category. So they got to aim for Gorsuch, and they got to aim for Amy Coney Barrett. She's the most centrist of any of the picks by Donald Trump, and hope they can get somebody like Gorsuch, Roberts, and or Amy Coney Barrett. They need 2 of the 3 to join Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sotomayor, and Kagan, and try to protect these people and allow these children and adolescents to live the life that they believe they were supposed to live, and not continue to suffer from these psychological traumas that come from not having your body match who you believe you are in terms of your gender. Continue to follow it all. Legal AF. And after Chase Strangio makes his compelling argument, I'll listen to it, an oral argument at the United States Supreme Court this week. We'll report on it on a show we call Unprecedented for a good reason. We follow the United States Supreme Court here on Legal AF every week. Join me and Dina Dahl for Unprecedented for the follow-up story about Chase Strangio. Until then, on all things Legal AF, I'm Michael Popok, and I'm reporting. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.